He's rough.
Rough and tough.
He's rough. Likes to eat.
I tell you what.
He could do.
All right, today is Tuesday, February 2nd, 2021. Welcome to the Oconee County Board of Commissioners meeting. If you're joining us virtually, you can use the raise hand feature in Zoom during the public comment portions of the meeting. After a moment of silence, we'll ask Justin to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand for a moment of silence. Thank you.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with
All right, our first item of business will be to approve the agenda. If you would, during the approval, I'd like to add one item, which is to consider authorization and validation of the general obligation bonds connected with SLOSS 2021 election. This is not actually authorizing the borrowing, but we have a certain amount of time to verify that the bonds will be legal. So we'd like to add that to item 5.2, and Daniel will go into more detail when we get to that section.
You ready?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the addition at 5.2.
Second.
We have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Next item is for statements and remarks from citizens. This is for anything not on the agenda for tonight. Anyone virtually? Any statements or remarks from commissioners?
No.
We did have one announcement. Oconee County Parks and Recs and the Keep Oconee County Beautiful Commission are looking for volunteers for removal of invasive plant species from Heritage Park. The next workday is scheduled for February 9th and then one for February 23rd. And this is from 9 in the morning till 1 in the afternoon. So if you got some free time, let's go help them out. Next item is approval of the minutes. This is from our January 5th meeting, strategic planning meeting from January 14th, and our agenda setting meeting from January 26th.
I'll make the motion to approve all the meetings as submitted.
Second.
A motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Next item is a second reading and public hearing for the amendments to the timber harvesting ordinance. Daniel?
I was just looking at the minutes to see exactly what Justin said last week, and I think he said exactly what I would say this week. This is a state required amendment to our ordinance. The big thing it does is create a statewide notification website on timber harvesting. It does make some changes to the bonds and letters of credit and how you call against those. We're using the model ordinance that ACCG developed and amended very slightly, and it's ready for your action.
Very good. This has been advertised, and this is our second public hearing. So do we have any public comment on this item? Anyone virtually? Thank you. With that, if there's no questions or discussion, we'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the amendment to the timber harvesting ordinance.
Second.
Got a motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Now we'll move on to the item consideration of authorization and validation. Daniel?
You know, when we normally do bonds, there is a bond resolution that the board approves. You actually have already done that. You did that, or at least you did the first part of it when we authorized the SPLOST election. You know, that was a 20-page resolution, and in that resolution it said the county has the potential to do bonds with some of the SPLOST proceeds. The voters approved that about a little bit better than a 2-to-1 margin. And now what we have to do within 6 months of the election is validate the bonds that you may choose to issue. So it seems a little strange that we don't exactly know terms or anything like that, but that will all come back to you and be voted on at a separate time once the board's decided exactly what they want to do on that. As you recall, the bonds were mostly aimed at the administrative building and the related facilities with that. So tonight, all you're doing is authorizing me to move forward with what's required under the law, which is the validation of the bonds. Later on, we'll come back and, you know, after y'all said what you want to do, we'll come back with the exact terms and approve moving forward with bond closing. So it's a much more split up process than we normally see, where you kind of do it all at one time. This really had 3 parts, and we're at the second part. So the motion I would ask for is just approve filing and proceeding with the bond validation from the SPLOST election.
Very Any questions of Daniel on this side? Any public comment? Anyone virtually? Thank you. With that, we'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion, we approve the filing and the procedures moving forward with the bonds.
Second.
We have a motion second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. All right, now we'll move into our hearing and actions on zoning matters. As we move into zoning, the rezone petition shall be presented by the county staff with no time limit. The applicant and those signing up to speak for the petitions will be allowed a total of 20 minutes, unless the applicant's reserved time for rebuttal. Those signing up to speak against petitions shall be allowed a total of 20 minutes as well. The public comments shall then be closed, and the board shall have the opportunity to ask such questions as they see find appropriate, and the board should then take action as set out in the Unified Development Code. With that one, we'll call our first rezone, which is rezone number P20019199. This is for Kenneth Wilbanks at 2751 New High Shoals Road. It's a rezone portion of property from AG to AR for the purpose of subdividing 2 acres from the parent tract.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, again, you have rezone P200199 Kenneth Wilbanks. This is located right here off of New High Shoals Road. This is a portion of A06022 that they're splitting off to settle an estate. It's currently zoned AG and in the country estates character area. And again, they're asking to rezone from AG to AR for the purpose of subdividing 2 acres with an existing residence and barn from the parent parcel. This is the site plan, concept plan that you have in your packet, referencing the 2 acres. And staff recommends approval with the 1 condition, and Planning Commission also recommends approval with the 1 condition.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from Mr. Wilbanks.
Well, I mean, my mother died and left the house and 1 acre to my daughter, but they haven't, what the issue is I had to have the well on the property. And I'm just trying to get it settled up so we can get it passed.
Okay. Thank
That's
you.
all I have to say.
All right. Does anyone else wish to speak for this rezone? Anyone virtually? Does anyone wish to speak against? Anyone virtually? With that, we'll go ahead and close the public comments and open up any questions from commissioners. Hear none, we'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve rezone number P20-0199. Owner Kenneth Wilbanks, 2751 New High Shoals Road, 2 acres, from AG to AR for the purpose of subdividing 2 acres from the parent parcel with 1 condition.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve rezone number P200199 with 1 condition. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Next item is rezone P200219. This is Michael Doster, 1101 Old Barnett Shoals Road, 4.47 acres. This is also a rezone from AG to AR for the purpose of subdividing property into 2 lots.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, again, this is rezone P200219, Michael Doster owner, located off of Old Barnett Shoals Road. This is the aerial of the property. It's currently zoned AG in the country estates character area. And again, the request is from AG to AR for 2 single-family residences. This is the concept plan provided in the packets. And staff recommends approval with the 1 condition. Planning Commission also recommends approval with the same condition.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from Mr. Doster.
Dad, I just wanted to get this land rezoned so I could give my children a place to build a house, and hopefully they can live next to me and give me some grandchildren, and I can watch them grow up.
There you go.
That's my plan. Not nothing real complicated.
Thank you very
All
much.
right, thank you.
Does anyone else wish to speak for this rezone? Anyone virtually? Does anyone wish to speak against? Anyone virtually? With that, we'll close public comments and open up any questions from commissioners.
Got none.
We'll entertain a motion at this time.
Make a motion we approve rezone number P 20-0219. Applicant Michael Dosser, 1101 Old Bar Shoals Road, 4.4 acres plus. West rezone from AG to AR. Purpose of subdividing property into 2 lots with 1 condition.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve rezone P 20-0219 with 1 condition. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Our next item is rezone number P 20-0235. This is Gin Hill LLC, 4060 Mars Hill Road. This is a rezone property from AG to B2 to allow multi-use commercial development. There's also a special use number P 20-0236. And this is a special use approval for a mini warehouse self-storage facility as a component of a multi-use commercial development. Is it all right to do both these together at one time?
Yes.
Ken, you okay with that? It's yours.
Yes.
Okay, very good.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, this is rezone P 20-0235 and special use P 20-0236, located just off of Mars Hill Road and Highway 78. This is the parcel B02069A. It is currently zoned AG and surrounded by industrial B2 and OBP and the ramps to from 78 and 316. It is in the regional center character area, and the request again is to rezone from AG to B2 to allow for a multi-use commercial development, including car wash, office warehouse space, mini warehouses, and boat and recreational vehicle storage. And again, the special use P 20-0236 is for approval of the mini warehouse self-storage component of the proposed development. This is a site plan that you have in your packets, showing the location of the warehousing and storage as well, and the car wash in this location. These are representative architectural images that were submitted with the application for the car wash, for the office warehouse, and for the boat and RV storage, and for the self-storage. Staff recommends a conditional approval with the 7 conditions that you have before you. The first 3 are our typical conditions. Number 4 is all building facades shall be at least 80% brick or stone on each side of each building. No metal siding shall be permitted on any building in the development. Any interior sidewalk networks constructed on individual lots shall connect to the sidewalks along the proposed public road. Vehicle use area screening and landscape strips shall be provided along the future interconnecting driveway meeting the standards of UDC Article 8. And the total square footage of all buildings on the property shall not exceed 246,000 square feet. The Planning Commission recommends approval subject to these same conditions. See if there's additional conditions with the special use permit. Again, the first 3 are the same, and 4, the total square footage of the self-storage facility shall not exceed 120,000 square feet. And number 5, all building facades shall be at least 80% brick or stone on each side of each building. No metal siding shall be permitted on any building. Planning Commission recommended approval subject to the same conditions.
Mr. Pittman?
Thank you guys for having me. My name is Frank Pittman with Pittman Engineering. As Guy mentioned, we're asking for a rezone of 4060 Mars Hill Road to is a 20-acre tract, currently zoned ag. It's been family land, the Porterfield family, for decades, and so they finally sold this. Everything is developed around it except this tract. We're asking to rezone to B2. Fits in the character area for that. As I mentioned and Guy mentioned, it's surrounded by commercial or industrial zone property today. The proposal is for a car wash, office warehouse, self-storage, and boat and RV storage. The benefits of this project are, with any commercial property, we all talk about tax base in the county, and it's a opportunity to get some tax revenue without putting kids in schools, which is always a plus. It's going to create some jobs, and at the same time, very little traffic. So it's almost a perfect scenario for commercial development. There's one condition that I kind of want to talk about that was placed on both of these, and that's with the building facades, should be 80% brick or stone. I would ask for approval without that condition, and I want to hand out. I'm going to show you all some buildings in the county that meet the UDC requirement, but would not meet this condition. If you want to kind of scroll through them, and most of these are new, nice buildings. You've got the existing Epsbridge storage facility, which is actually the same owner, Mr. Chance Warren, who's here as well. You've got the new doctor's office at Resurgence Park. You've got the Piedmont campus, new vascular center, the new orthopedic center, Walgreens Public, Spring Hill Suites, Mercedes dealership, the Oconee State Bank branch right across the road from this site, Dr. Campbell's building, that's the Thrive Senior Living Facility, the daycare, that stone, it's not the stone store, it's the stone facility is right across the road from this project as well. The daycare and the vet clinic, which are also right across the road from this facility. All of these buildings would meet the UDC requirements, but would not meet this condition. So I just, I don't understand what this condition really does for us. The UDC has a specific requirements on building facades that allow stuff other than brick or stone, stucco, EIFS, wood materials. Most of these buildings will not be visible from the road. And I was just looking at it earlier, the buildings in the back, you're going to be almost 800 feet away from Mars Hill Road. You'll be over 100 feet from the neighbors across conservation corridor. It seems like we're asking a bit much with this condition. So I would ask that you guys approve this without this condition. I don't want to take a whole lot of your time, and obviously I want to save some time for rebuttal, any questions you guys may have. But that would be the request is that we approve this special use and rezone without the condition for building facades and be able to follow the UDC requirements. And just a note on that too, we turned in representative architecture, which you guys saw, of those buildings. About 75% of them would not be allowed based on this condition. So just like for you guys to consider scratching that condition. Thank you.
How much time do you want to hold for?
I think, 5 minutes or so would be more than enough.
Mr. Warren, you want to speak?
Sure. My name's Chance. I'll come up here. My name's Chance Warren. I live at 1021 Tarpley Court here in Watkinsville, and thank you very much for considering this request. As Frank indicated, I'm an Oconee County resident, and I've served other Oconee County residents, and as evidenced by our other development that we've done here in town, Epsbridge Storage, it's our interest as well as our desire to bring the highest quality, both in construction as well as aesthetically, to the community. And thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak for this rezone? in special use? Anyone virtually? Does anyone wish to speak against the special use or the rezone at this time? Anyone virtually? Very good. Anything else to say? Good. All right, we'll go ahead and close public comments at this point and open up to any questions from commissioners.
Mr. Chairman, I got a couple of questions. Since I'm the new kid on the block, help me understand, Ms. Herron, about the requirement about the 80% and why, I mean, he's showing us, other properties that, what's the difference?
Well, I'm not familiar with the properties he's proposed or shown you, but that's okay.
Okay.
But what we took was the application they provided and chose the highest caliber of buildings that they proposed. And we felt like if it were in their application, that's what they should be held to. So that's what we chose. So that was the brick and the stone. And a lot of their, photographs or architectural proposed architectural renderings were mostly brick. So we didn't go all brick. We went, 80%. So that was where we derived that. And we felt like this is a very highly visible location. You're going to have the ramps on 316 and 78 that you'll be able to see from the back. The two buildings in the back are proposed to be potential 2-story, which would elevate their visibility as well. And then it's right there off of 78, and there's brick surrounding it. So if you look at the buildings that are there, most of them are all brick for the most part. Even the areas where there are bay doors, those are brick as well, even to the rear of those buildings. So we felt like it would be in keeping with that area and a high standard for that area. And it sets the tone, for Mars Hill and 78.
I assume in his request to he's not talking about doing away with the no metal part. He's just talking about the 80%.
That would be a question for him.
Yeah.
I'm not even talking about 80%. So the UDC says that any wall visible from the street has to be 80% brick or stone, stucco or wood. It gives a bunch of options.
Okay.
This is narrowed it down to 2 options only. And it's saying all 4 sides. I do think that, if you look at some of the, even our representative architecture, there's some buildings that show a lot of stucco on it. All these new buildings along 316, their existing storage facility as well as Mercedes, it's all stucco. There's no brick, and very little stone, if any, on either of those. We just want to be able to use the options that are in the UDC and not be kind of pigeonholed with only 2 options.
But the comment that's made in the condition about no metal, you're all right with that, aren't you? No metal siding?
I mean, I think in a perfect world, if the backs of some of these buildings that are in the woods that are hundreds of feet from visibility, ideally, it'd be nice to be able to use some metal on that. I don't know that we're necessarily married to doing that, but, the UDC allows for that on buildings that, size of buildings that are not visible from the street.
Yeah. One more question, Mr. Pitt, while you're up is, Mr. Warren, he will be retaining the ownership of the storage facilities, the office warehouse, and the car wash, or will any of that go? How will you?
So, and tell me if I'm wrong, Chance, and this may be a question for you. I mean, these guys obviously are in the storage business and have been for a long time. So they, the storage, the boat and RV storage, they would for sure retain ownership of at least for some period of time. They may or may not market some of the car wash to a national vendor or something like that. This thing will be built in phases. It won't all happen at the same time. So I think it's optional. I think they may do it either way. Just depends on what happens.
So
It is not our intention to sell these parcels.
okay. So the way it's being presented, it would not preclude you, to having another party to own the car wash or.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And on the plan, it's set up to where each of them would be on their own parcel. in case that ever did happen down the road. And, you know, they don't intend that, but we've
Okay.
all seen how things in real estate change. I mean, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, they may decide to break off pieces. So it's set up to be able to sell off
Okay.
parcels if, you know, if they decided to.
All right. I got a question for you, Ms. Herring, if you don't mind, if you could throw the site plan up, to help me understand about the visibility, because, I assume that track between this and 78, I see there's I
You can
guess,
go to the aerial photo, that might be better.
well, the site
There we
plan
go.
is fine.
So
No.
you'll notice here is the ramp to 78 with the structures to be proposed in this location. So we'll switch back over. You'll see they share a property boundary line with DOT right away.
But the property towards 78, I mean, it's
Yes, sir.
currently undeveloped.
That's correct, along 78, yes, sir.
But,
Not along the ramps to 316,
Right.
that's correct.
But it's zoned industrial,
That's correct.
so, so may not be, the lot may not be visible today from 78, but we don't know what could take place there.
We don't.
Is there any plans, are you aware of any plans for the DOT changing the intersection of 316 and 78 in any of their plans? So
I'm not.
they're not gonna modify?
I'm not aware of any.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
I don't know that I have a question. It'll probably start out with the observation I had. I went and I drove around the area. And I know you've got, I think you got Oconee State Bank in it, and you got the building behind Oconee State Bank, and you got the vet. And I don't know the percentages, but most all the buildings, even down the Mars Hill back to the left, all through, and most of those buildings are brick. I mean, now, I don't know the percentage of what Oconee State Bank is, or the vet school, and I know the one behind Oconee State Bank has got some metal by their roll-up doors. But most all the rest of it's all brick, even back up that road, the truck repair place. And so, to me, if I were Mr. Herring, I probably would also say that in keeping with what you see out there now, and I know, granted, there's some older stuff, so I could see there be a combination, you know, where brick is used to stay in with what is out there now. Granted, you could go down Mars Hill and find some older structures or something that don't meet that, but so I don't know what the right percentage is personally. I know he's got 80-20, but most of them are probably, you know, pretty high on the brick side. So that's just an observation.
Mr. Herring, isn't the 80-20 a UDC requirement?
I am not familiar with that section, if it is. I know there are a variation of building materials, exterior building materials that could be used on commercial projects, metal being one of them, but it limits it to, you know, smooth metal, not corrugated metal, and it can be painted. So the UDC may have standards for exterior for exteriors on commercial buildings. However, we felt with the location, with the keeping with the surrounding structures, that this was most appropriate. And we didn't go all brick and stone. We gave, well, again, we gave the 80% requirements.
I just thought about something, Guy, and I guess this may require a little bit of research, but the new gas station is going across the street from the bank and racetrack. You remember what the condition was on that?
Off the top of my head, I do not.
So the upspread storage, most of that is EFS or it might be, some other product there. So are you saying that that's not an option to be used here?
Right, our condition was the 80/20, with brick or stone being the 80%.
Any other questions? We'll entertain a motion on rezone number P200235.
I'll make a motion to approve rezone P2235 with a modification with the 7 conditions, with a modification to condition 4 and condition 5 to allow the stucco or ephes.
Second.
So 80/20 with those.
Those 3, so 80% brick or stone, and then allow the ephes or the stucco to be a part of that as well.
As part of the 80% or the 20%?
The 20%.
That's already allowed with a condition as written? Yeah, so that's already covered. For the 20%, they can use any UDC approved outside covering. So that would already be covered there.
So that wouldn't be changing the request then?
Well, it seemed, that it was not mentioned, so I just felt
Yeah.
like that it.
That's a correct statement, right?
That's
The-
correct. Yes,
The 20% would cover those items
any exterior item allowed by the city.
for that 20%. So would you like to modify
No,
the 7
I'm fine with those conditions.
as presented by staff, the 7? Okay. All right, so we have a motion to approve P200235 with 7 conditions as presented by staff. Do we have a second?
Let me withdraw that, because that wasn't my thinking.
Okay.
I misunderstood his motion.
Okay. So do we have a second for the motion?
And make sure I got, so we're basically back to square one, 80/20, and they can use that product.
Yes.
All right, I'll second that.
All right. So we have a motion and a second to approve rezone P200235 with 7 conditions as presented by staff. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we'll hear a motion on the special use.
I make a motion we approve special use number P200236, Gin Hill LLC, Pittman Engineering, 4060 Morris Hill Road, 14.6 acres. Special use approval for a mini warehouse self-storage facility as component of multi-use commercial development with 5 conditions.
Second.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second to approve special use P200236 with 5 conditions as presented by staff. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next for the item is rezone P200238. This is Cat Creek Development Company, Hampton Valley Development Company. This is 2881 Monroe Highway. It's 14.88 acres. The request is to go from OIP to OIP with modifications to rezone number 7282 to develop senior living community.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, this is rezone P200238, Cat Creek Development Company, located right off of Highway 78, next to Franklin Grove. This is the aerial photo of the existing building and property. It's currently zoned OIP, and it is in the community village character area. And again, they're requesting to modify the original rezone from OIP to OIP with modifications for a comprehensive senior living community. This is the concept plan you have before you in your packets. Originally, these structures in the rear were approved for office. So the senior facility is located right here. Currently, it's already constructed and in use. They would like to modify that original zoning concept plan and rezone to allow for these to be independent living cottages to work in conjunction with the existing senior facility. Again, this is just an enlargement of that. The existing facility with the proposed cottages, there are some that are currently existing as offices that will be converted to the cottages. These are the representative images of the existing facility and the proposed architecture for the new independent living. Again, staff recommends approval with 5 conditions. The first 3 are our typical conditions, standard conditions, and then number 4, all parcels which are part of this rezone action shall be held in common ownership by a single entity, the Landing Senior Living LLC, which shall also be the sole condominium declarant. The condominium plat and condominium declaration shall be amended to provide that the property is part of a single owner comprehensive senior living community, and that sale of individual units is strictly prohibited. And the tax assessor shall merge all such parcels into a single tax parcel. And number 5, the total building square footage on the property shall not exceed 90,017 square feet. Planning Commission recommends approval subject to these same conditions.
And we'll hear from Mr. Massey.
I'm Robert Massey. I'm one of the owners of the Landing Senior Living, and we came to you a couple of years ago about the rezone for the front parcel, and which is now assisted living memory care, opened last spring in the middle of COVID, and actually we're doing pretty well. However, we left the remaining properties in the rear as office space, and we now see that the largest need for that would be for independent living, that we can offer some services and stuff out of our front facility. And so we're just coming back at this point to ask you if we could allow that use on the rear part.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak for this rezone? Anyone virtually? Does anyone wish to speak against? Anyone virtually? With that, we'll go ahead and close public comments and open up to any questions from commissioners. Got one, Mr. Massey, on the site plan, the building up front. Can you go back to the site plan? Right at the top, the building right there.
That's,
Is that already on the?
no, that was a future expansion
Okay,
opportunity we have that's, I think that was included in the zoning in the
first
but
time.
it would be like a memory care
Okay.
expansion or something like that, but it's not there now.
And Guy, that's in the total square footage? Okay. Any other questions? Okay, we'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we approve rezone number P200238, Cat Creek Development Company. Robert Massey. Weaving Associates Engineering, 2881 Monroe Highway, 14.8 plus minus acres. Rezone from OIP to OIP modification to rezone number 7282, develop senior living community with the 5 conditions.
Second.
Motion and second to approve rezone P200238 with 5 conditions. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. All right, next item is a special use number P200239. This is Athens Christ, or Church of Christ. It's at 3720 Mars Hill Road. It's 6.16 acres. It's a request to modify the conditions of special use number 5649 to allow conversion of an existing storage building into a classroom space.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, this is special use P200239. It's located just off of Mars Hill and Julian Drive. This is the existing facility, and the storage building is right there. It's currently zoned AG and R1. It's in the regional center character area. And again, they're requesting to modify condition number 1 of special use 5649 to allow for the conversion of that existing storage building into additional classroom space. That condition number 1 originally said the primary church sanctuary building shall not exceed 20,000 square feet unless it came back to the board for approval. And so this is the concept plan that you have showing the existing church and the existing storage building. These are photos of the church and the storage building that is to be renovated for classroom space. Again, the storage building. And the planning staff recommend approval with the 1 condition, and planning commission also recommended approval with the same condition.
Mr. Bell.
Thank you, members of the commission. Ken Bell, Bell and Company. We worked with Athens Church of Christ originally on the plans for their special use permit back in 2008. And at that point in time, they had just purchased what had formerly been the sports training facility. And if I'm not mistaken, the storage building was already there. And I think it had already been bricked even back when they purchased that. But they also purchased the adjoining residential property, which is where the single family home that's used as a parsonage is located presently. And their original intent was they didn't think that they would need that storage building, and they just planned to tear it down. But in 2008, although it was the time of the original special use permit, it was also the beginning of the recession. And the church's plans were impacted by the continuation of that recession in 2009, 10, 11, even parts of 12. So their fundraising capabilities were limited during that period, and they weren't able to expand their parking area as is illustrated on the current plan. And so we thought we would go ahead and put a time constraint on going ahead and getting that parking lot finished within a certain period of time, not just leaving it hanging out there in Neverland, but basically a 5-year opportunity for them to complete that parking lot and the related stormwater requirements that would go with the expansion of their parking lot. That and the ability to convert that existing building to classroom space. So as Guy said, there were 2 conditions that required that if we didn't remove the building and wanted to use it, we had to come back and go through a special use permit. And there was one other thing that we weren't aware back when we prepared the special use plan, because there had not been a recombination plat prepared. Still, even today, there is a recombination plat, but it's not yet recorded, showing both of those parcels combined into one, although I think the tax map now shows one parcel. There's not a map that shows them as one parcel. So 2 years ago, baseline surveying was engaged to prepare that recombination plat. And at that point in time is when we discovered that at the time of purchasing that residential property, they had agreed to provide a 60-foot ingress egress easement on the western edge of that property, which we didn't know about, therefore it never showed up on the original special use plan. So that now is illustrated on the special use plan, that 60-foot, and it ties with the driveway of the parking lot once it's extended, and coincides with the future access driveway and decel lane that would be built along with the expansion of the parking lot. So those are just some of the details of the request that I thought you should hear and know about before you voted. Otherwise, it's pretty straightforward. Just show the easement, build it within 5 years, and expand the usable space in that storage building as soon as possible, as soon as they get full building permits. Submit plans and get them approved and pull building permits. Be happy to answer any other questions.
We made them just a second. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to speak for this rezone? Anyone virtually? Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone virtually? We'll go ahead and close public comments and open up to questions from commissioners. Okay, we'll entertain a motion at this time.
I'll make a motion to approve special use number P20-0239, Athens Church of Christ, Bell and Company, 3720 Mars Hill Road, 6.16 acres. R1 and AG request modified conditions of special use number 5649 to allow conversion of existing storage building into classroom space with one condition.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve special use P20-0239 with one condition. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Next item is consider an appointment to the Board of Elections for the Board of Elections Chair and Director of Elections and Registration. Justin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. This is a unique position within the county. The actual title, you are appointing the chair of the Board of Elections, but the nominal title, and probably more functional, is the day-to-day Director of Elections. And so although they do not report to me, we work with them, or I work with them on an operational day-to-day basis. So there's some criteria that go into this beyond just a standard appointee, or excuse me, a hire that I would typically make. They have to be a citizen of Oconee County, as our boards are. There's a requirement functionally to understand the election logistics, ever-changing laws that go into the elections themselves, and must understand how to work the election sites themselves. So there's different components to it. And ultimately, this position requires passion for the objective execution of the elections. So I'd offer to you the most qualified candidate comes from within the current department itself. This is Rebecca Anglin. Rebecca brings 20 years of elections experience to the position, ranging from working at the election sites, managing the election sites, training those who work the election sites, down to the understanding of the current elections laws, testing the logic and accuracy of our voting equipment. Oconee County, where the Gold Star is a Gold Star for elections office, and she is a big part of it, has been so far. Also, she has received her Georgia Elections Official Certificate, as well as a Georgia Registrar Official Certificate. And with that, again, this is a Board of Commissioners appointee, but I would offer that Rebecca Anglin be appointed to this position of chair, if it pleases the board.
Any questions at this time? We'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion we appoint Rebecca Anglin, the Board of Elections Chair and Director of Elections and Registration.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Congratulations. Rebecca's here tonight, so everybody say thank you. next item is discuss and consider the Hog Mountain Road widening project. Jody?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Last week at the agenda setting meeting, we brought this item to your attention. It's the widening of Hog Mountain Road. And in keeping with the May Court's plan and the transportation plan and the transportation task force, this item would be for the widening. And we reached out to our small paving annual contractor and got an estimated price for the widening of $82,690. And then, so the recommendation would be to award this contract to Garrett Paving in the amount not to exceed $82,690 for the widening, the 2-foot widening on each side of Hog Mountain Road.
And this is from 12 Oaks down?
Yes, pretty much any of the areas that are grass right now is what the price included. So we'll work with the contractor and get the best, what we can get there.
Any questions of commissioners? Okay, so this would be a motion to amend the small paving contract with Garrett Paving for an increase not to exceed $82,690 with the associated budget amendments required.
I'll make the motion for that.
We have a motion second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Next item is discuss and consider the FY 2021 resurfacing project.
Similarly, this one was presented last week as well, and the recommendation would be to come before the board and add the following: add Spartan Lane, the remainder of Spartan Lane, the sections of Belfair subdivision that were not resurfaced last year, and the widening section of Hog Mountain, overlay it with the existing contract with C.W. Matthews. And that would be the estimate from C.W. Matthews for that work was $3,502,580.25.
That includes the roads we've already presented previously.
That's
So
correct.
that's total contract.
That's
for
the total
everything.
contract price, and that was included the roads that were presented in October for the LMIG submittal.
Very good. Any questions of commissioners? So this would be a motion to award the contract to C.W. Matthews for the FY 2021 paving program for $3,502,580. $502,580, excuse me.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and also that would include any budget amendments required to add those additional. You're okay with that change?
Yes.
Good. All right. We have motion second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Next item is discuss and consider budget amendments to the FY 21 budget to allow payoff of leases and installment sales. Wes?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, board. I'm here to ask for your consideration on to allow me to pay off some lease agreements that we have, and I'll go into those. But firstly, General Accounting Standards Board is the governing body for governmental accountants, and they come up with GASB rulings. That's the acronym for that. And so GASB 87 is coming up soon in the next year or two, and it's going to make governments recognize all capital leases as assets and liabilities rather than an operating lease, which is going to change our books a little bit. So it behooves us to pay off our leases before that happens. And Mr. Clay Pilgrim, our third-party auditor, mentioned that a little bit and kind of foreshadowed that. So in advance of that, what I'm proposing to the board is to pay off two capital leases that we had. One of them is the Panasonic MDTs that goes in all the law enforcement vehicles, and the other is the jail camera system. So our creditors are U.S. Bank and IoTech that hold those leases. The payoff amounts for these two leases is $276, $126, and 48 cents for the Panasonic MDTs, and the jail camera system. The payoff is $53,940 for a total of $330,940.
and $66.48. So if it pleases the board, I would request your consideration of amending the 2021 budget to allow me to pay those leases off. If there's any questions at this time, I'd be glad to answer those.
Was there also a taser contract in there?
That was 9,000 and that we had just the one payment left, so.
Okay. Any questions from commissioners? So this would be a motion to authorize the payoff of the 2 leases and installment payments listed and the associated budget amendments required to achieve that.
Mr. Chairman, quick question. On the agenda itself, is the numbers different? So is that something we need to fix, make sure that it gets put in the record properly on the agenda itself? Or just?
Yeah, after further research, that's where the number went up.
Yeah.
That was a placeholder at the time. So the actual amount of the motion.
Yeah. I just didn't know if the agenda had 306, so I want to
Yeah.
make sure we didn't need to amend that too.
I don't think so.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you. We'll be paying these leases off this week. Thank you.
Does any commissioner wish any item be removed from consent agenda? With that, we'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve consent agenda. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. We have no need of executive session tonight, so Commissioner Saxon.
Before we go, Chairman, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
I noticed Fran's back there too, and I want to recognize her.
Yeah.
Yeah, and thank Fran for all she's done for the election, on the board and the chair sitting there. We exemplify what it takes to run an elections office for sure, and through your leadership, you did a great job, and we're going to miss you for sure. I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
That's what I'm, yeah.